Like for me right now, right, I'm procrastinating. I need to go and schedule a case study thread or long form and maybe some sort of giveaway or something along those lines related to lead gen. When I sit down, I don't want to write that. I want to write about like how doing the infinite money glitch on GTA taught me how to build a team in business. It's like, that's what I enjoy writing about, but I know it's not the needle mover, and I'm very self-aware about that. And like, I could do both, but I'm like, my mind is like, top of mind, I need to do the most important task first. So I just get stuck and I'm like, it's so boring. Maybe I need a ghostwriter.
Maybe you need a what?
I think I need a ghostwriter.
Maybe you just need to be a beast, bro.
Yeah,
just be a beast. It's easy. I want to pick up on one word that you did. You said twice, must. Must you do it? Do you have to do it? I mean, I don't think you do.
Like not particularly, but like I don't have to, but I do. I see it as a responsibility to my team to like do certain things. I think it's something to be said that not everyone has to be a content person. And I think like now, because we're in the creator economy, like everyone thinks they have to be a content person. Like I think you have to create content, but I don't think like you have to be a content person. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the big guys and let's take like a Patrick Bet-David, like he's not sitting down making content. You know what I mean? He's got like a team around him to support him, right? You even said you have a team of 3. So I think it's just like having a team to support you where you lack is important for the whole content thing.
I think the reason why sometimes content feels like kind of hard for some people is that marketing, and I got this from James Kemp, but he's like, marketing is to a degree manipulative. You want to make people do something or change something. And when I think about that, it feels icky, the energy is off. But when I change my strategy, and you know how sometimes there's some platitudes that they're so basic, but they just hit you like so hard, and you're like, oh, so true, bestie. Like for me, man, it's like I hear some platitudes that are like, yeah, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I'm like, oh my God, facts, bro, so true. Yeah, or like, it's every loss gets you closer to a win. I'm like, yeah, bro, preach, like you got this, yeah, girl. So there's one in content that I think about often, and for me, it's actually quite deep. I guess that's the equivalent of being a beast for him, but for me was show, don't tell. Like, you have done a lot of things in this week or even in this month. You changed the strategy. Like maybe, let's walk into through an example you even said on the podcast. Your content wasn't really hitting, and then you were like, your competition or your friends were tripping, but then you told everyone, hold on, let's just stick to the goddamn plan because it's going to work, right? You said it, you created it. So you could even write a post on that. Last week, transparency time, because people love that word or that phrase, my content wasn't hit. And I was stressed because my clients were not getting the results I promised them. And I felt wrong. But then when my team was tripping and my friends were tripping, I made the executive decision to just stick to the plan. Engagement is up and down, but eventually it will go up. So now maybe sometimes you don't need to change everything. Maybe you just need to stick to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals, interesting word, because that's exactly what we focus on at the Birdhouse. The fundamentals, the things that don't change. Creating constant stuff in a sea of changing algorithms, because we know that algorithms change, but humans don't. Hire us. I'm your ghostwriter now.
I'm gonna once this comes out, I'm just gonna transcript that.
But you know what I mean? Like we're just talking about things you've already done. Yeah. So when you show, don't tell, it feels so much less manipulative, and it's so much cooler. Also, it cannot be in anybody else's feed. It can only be on the Marcos feed, and that by itself is such an unfair advantage. So maybe you say that you're maybe not a content guy, bro. You create content for a living. What the fuck do you mean you're not a content guy?
Yeah, I'm a content guy for other people because I'm more passionate about their businesses than I am like writing content for an agency is not the same, or it's not as fun. I should say it is the same, but it's not as fun as writing content for like an education. Like I'd rather write content for you than I would for me. Because for you,
Really?
I get to play with different angles and I get to help all these, like, you have so many different customer profiles, which is fun to me. Whereas for me, it's like very much the same customer profile over and over and over and over and over. So like, that's what I think of when I think of it. I'm like, for you, I can target the stylist or the fitness guy or the IG coach or the fucking speech coach or the language coach. And I can just go crazy with angles. But my angles are a little bit boring because I'm just looking for like the 20 people who have like the same kind of business. It's just like, you know what I mean?
Don't you think that's more of a grass is greener on the other side? Because like being honest, I've always wanted to do e-commerce. I think me doing online stuff is cool, but man, having a physical thing, bro, it's like the Kill Crew guys, like having people wear your message and your brand. I think that's beautiful, and I think that's really cool. So I've always wanted to do e-com. But then an e-com dude messaged me, bro, I really want to do coaching. I'm like, oh, okay. But then somebody else messaged me, man, I really want to do SaaS. So grass is always greener, man. It's like, maybe, once you get off your jet lag, get a dopamine detox day and get back on the train. I think you're a great writer.
Don't get me wrong. The Birdhouse is going to do $1 billion in revenue 1 year.
Is that your goal? Like actually building a huge
the
company?
goal. Yes, the goal is to build a huge company that does a lot of impact, more than just like 10 clients and 20 clients. Like I want 100. I like Ogilvy's. Do you know Ogilvy?
Of course.
That was disrespectful. I'm sorry.
I really like his stuff.
Ogilvy's agency called Ogilvy does like $5 billion a year in revenue. It's like, and he's not even a top 5 agency in the world. It's insane.
You think you'd be able to, like, I'm sure, I mean, you can do it. Do you want to do it?
I want to, so I guess that remains to be seen, right? I have to hit like 10 million before I can see ahead to 100. I have to hit 100 before I could see $1 billion. But like, I love, when I look at like Gary Vee, his business is not that big. It's about 100 million a year, right? Just according to the internet, it could be more. That's only the VaynerMedia, so only the marketing side. And I love seeing him just like go to the office in Singapore and just like talk to like 100 people that just like work for him that he's never met. And I think it's like kind of cool in a sense, because it's like it's like, I don't want to sound wrong. It's like spreading his seed.
Remember that one time we had a guest and we're like, hey, welcome to the threesome at the Lex and Cash podcast.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I would have an office for sure. I don't know if I'd go that big, but like that remains to be seen. I guess you just take it year by year and play it. But I definitely want to get a lot bigger and I think it'll be fun if it's done right. But if there's any point I'm like, this sucks, I would just stop. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever? Yeah. I know you definitely have, but like when you get a little bit big and you're like, well, this kind of sucks. I think I'm just gonna like not do that. So like, yeah, you know what I mean? But I won't. Yeah. I don't know what I don't know.
So like, yeah, there's this graph. I don't know if we can put it up, or you guys can look it up. It's called informed simplicity. So in the beginning, you just want simplicity. Then you complicate things, and then you realize simplicity is everything you needed. It's kind of the equivalent of the bell curve meme. So in the beginning, it's just, I don't want a business. I just want a business that allows me to live my life. And then in the middle, you're like, at least this is my personal experience. I'm not saying this for you, right? But for me in the middle, I was like, no, I want to build a $100 million business and be huge and have this like massive impact. But then I realized that was really complex and I said, fuck it. I want to build a lifestyle business. So I moved on to informed simplicity, which is the same thing as before. I just want to build a business that allows me to live my life. But you have to get there to understand why. Like, you have to get the money to understand that you don't need the money. You have to get the girls to understand that you don't need the girls. You have to get like the really like the ripped body to understand that maybe you don't want to be ripped all the time, right? Or maybe you do. Or maybe I'm just not there yet. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. I said like, no, I don't want to build a huge business anymore because it was really bad. Like there was a time where I was like extremely stressed all the time. And I thought maybe this is not it. So I realized that for me at that moment, growing my business was the wrong choice. And we scaled back and it's actually quite nice.
Well, you know what I think? And I actually like I mean, you look at everyone's business differently, but for your business specifically, I think it's really cool, like the way it's set up. And I think you have I could tell you're a lot happier because you text me.
Is that what you tell your girl? Hey girl, I consider you happier.
You
sending me once.
Wait, so, you know what I love about what you're doing right now is that your brand is just like growing. Like your Instagram's just growing, your LinkedIn's growing, your YouTube's growing, podcasts growing. Like everything's growing, but you don't have to just because you're growing doesn't mean the business needs to grow with it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a big thing that people think is like, just because you're growing doesn't mean the business needs to grow at the exact proportional rate. Like you could maintain $1 million business and then also 10x your personal brand without also 10xing the business, because you just don't, if you don't need to, you don't need to. You know what I mean? That's something to think about. And like you're also getting basically 10x that goodwill, and like you can unleash it later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have the option. And Ryan actually wrote this thing. So Ryan's my business partner. We actually met for the first time here in Poland after doing business for a year. We made we made 7 figures together, and we've never met, but we met here. And something I do is, because Ryan's account is small, but he's a good writer. Sometimes he'll post case studies, and my content strategy is copy pasting and sending. That's my whole strategy. It's not stealing if it's from your business partner.
Sure.
So that's what I do. Yeah. So he has a really good case study from this guy that it wasn't even a monetary case study. You know, some case studies, even if you're in the wealth niche, don't need to be monetary. A lot of them are emotional. It was about, he came up to us, he's like, I want to build an appointment setting team. He's like, why? Because I see everyone doing it, and I think that's the next step for you. He's like, do you really want to do that? Or do you want to build something else? Like, maybe something else. And the email went on saying, we build the business we're told, not the one we want. We need a setter, check. We need a sales team, check. We need a sales manager, check. We need projections and a huge complex team and a customer success manager, check. And we never really stop and think, what is the business we want? Like, what is the business we actually want? And we realized that a lot of the time we just end up building stuff because somebody else told us. Just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're not acting in an NPC way. And a lot of entrepreneurs, me included, act like NPCs very often. And we never stop to think, is this the thing I should be doing?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, man. All right, what you got on the Notion? Let's check it out. Genghis Khan invented incentives.
So I've been listening to, and this is like kind of goes into what we were saying before, but I've been listening to, I don't know if you've heard of How to Take Over the World, the podcast.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to How to Take Over the World. I listened to Genghis Khan, Leonardo da Vinci, and now I'm listening to Walt Disney. And in the Genghis Khan one, they were talking about, and I was thinking about incentives, and I was thinking, they were talking about Genghis Khan and the way he revolutionized being a general, or being a, whatever you would call it, conqueror, is instead of going, it's so distracting. Instead of just going in and taking.
What's distracting? Me putting stuff in my mouth is distracting to you?
If you're listening, you have no idea what just unfolded.
Yeah. Which means you should subscribe to the channel on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Hit that button. Genghis Khan.
Yeah. So Genghis Khan would go and conquer, entire villages, entire nations. But the way he changed the whole conquering scene versus the other Khan of Mongolia is when he went, he wouldn't just tell his army to go in and just pillage and destroy and take everything they want. He would go in, have them pillage, destroy everything, and collect everything, bring it to him, and then he would redistribute the fruits of their labor based on merit. So he would say, who performed the best? Who had the most killings? Who took the most children? Who lit the most houses on fire? And he would basically have like a leaderboard. And if you were the best, you would get the most of the rewards. You would get the most sheep. You get the most lumber. You get the most money. You get the most women. It was insane. So he basically invented incentives, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, okay.
It was insane. I thought about it. And I'm like, that's basically how people run a sales team, a content team, whatever. You just and you can base everything on incentives. That's how I run my team. So I thought it was crazy.
That's a good one, to be reading autobiographies. Like, you know, I think we covered this together. It's like, we read biographies and autobiographies, but with like business books that just tell you advice, we're illiterate. We do not read that. And it's like so boring. We covered this. Yeah. One time?
I'm actually paralyzed if I open a book that's just like business related. I'm like, I fall asleep immediately.
Yeah, me too. The only way is if it's written like Atomic Habits, like it's written in a tweet format. Like you're essentially reading James Clear's tweets if you read Atomic Habits.
You know what's funny is what I learned over the weekend, and this really just reinforces what we already do. Leonardo da Vinci talked about how he's like, why would I read books when I could go straight to the source, experience? So he's like, he would actually just experiment and experience things and like go and see for himself. He's like, why would I read a book on water? I could just go look at the water. Like, it's so smart, but like,
that's so based.
That's so
holy shit.
No, he's like, so, you know, he actually dissected 20 human bodies, and he's actually one of the godfathers of anatomy. He actually used to dissect dead bodies to figure out how muscles were inlet into the body so that he could draw a better man. It was insane. And he actually had a competition with another artist, Michelangelo, and he blew him out of the water. Like, Michelangelo was an elite sculptor, and at the time when they went up against each other, Michelangelo wasn't as great a painter, and it was just insane. And Leonardo is like, he's notorious for being an experimenter. He started reading books later in his life, but you know, his first 20, 30 years, it was just like, he would just go to he's like, I could just go to the source. And I think it's like that for business for us right now. You know, we're young, and like, obviously we're going to read more different kinds of books when we're older. Like Warren Buffett reads a book a day. But I think in the season that we're both in, we're both just like, I want to read about the goats who have like a lifetime of knowledge, and then we just learn business by experience. It's kind of like that right now.
We just become beasts. Quite simply, bro.
Just be a beast.
Be a beast. Yeah, easy. Okay, I want to talk on this because I like it, and I know Ryan's a geek on this. Like Ryan is the old dude I'm business partners with. So what he does with his mornings is he sits down and he reads books about the Third Reich and Nazi Germany. That's Ryan's definition of having a good time.
Nice.
So for the people who also like reading about history, what's another lesson in history or another figure in history? I don't know if that translates well, but somebody in history that you've learned something that's kind of interesting with, or a story about that.
Yeah. So one that I think of is Steve Jobs, and it's kind of Elon Musk, but Steve Jobs, he was just like, he was so cruel to people like in his immediate business circle. Like, if you had a bad idea, and I actually think, you're not cruel, but you are blunt, right? And have we brought this up already? But I'll say it again for the context of this pod.
Sure.
I think JK is very blunt, and I think it's a superpower, because when they talk about, and I've read about Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and many others, they talk about how blunt they were, and what it does is it basically makes your feedback loop 10 times faster.